Okay, welcome to our presentation today, 7 Red. We'll be looking at the gods and religion of ancient Egypt. The religion of ancient Egypt was a polytheistic religion as opposed to a monotheistic religion. Now, I'll just go through what those two words mean. Mono, meaning one, is the worship of a single god. Monotheistic, theism indicates the belief in a god or gods. So monotheism is the belief of religions like Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Polytheism, poly meaning many, is the belief in many gods. And a religion that we know today, such as Hinduism, is an example. The religion of ancient Egypt was just like that. There were many gods and goddesses who were worshipped by the people. They often had particular responsibilities that aligned with natural events and features of the ancient Egyptian world. Briefly, there was a time when there was a monotheistic period in ancient Egyptian history. For one short reign, the god Aten, who was a sun god, was proclaimed the only god who could be worshipped, but that was only for a very short period of time. In tomorrow's lesson, I will go through some of the major gods who were worshipped and what their position was in the order of who was more important and who was less important amongst the gods of ancient Egypt. You can see in this image here a list of several very important gods in ancient Egypt, and you'll get to do some more research into them over the following week. One of the things that is in common with ancient Egyptian civilization and modern religions like Christianity, Islam, and Judaism is a belief in a final judgment for the soul after death. In the first image that you can see here is the process of mummification, which took place to the body of mostly wealthy ancient Egyptians after they died. We'll talk about that process more in a moment. It was believed by the ancient Egyptians that in the underworld, which is the place where the soul went upon death, a boat would carry the souls of the dead towards a final judgment on a journey, just like this image that you can see up in the corner here. Finally, there would be a weighing of the person's soul to determine what their fate would be in the afterlife, and you can see a representation of that process in this image. This image here, looking at that, we can see that a heart is being weighed. This symbol here is of a feather. This feather is that of the goddess Mayat. The feather was a symbol of truth and justice and helped determine whether the deceased person had indeed been virtuous. If the heart was found to be heavier than the feather, it was fed to Amut, the devourer, and the soul was cast into darkness. If the scales were balanced and the deceased had passed the test and was taken before Osiris, who welcomed him into the afterlife. For those who were concerned about this test, they could recite a spell inscribed on their heart to prevent their heart from betraying them. So this process of judgment has similarities to modern religions like Islam and Christianity, as I mentioned before. The symbolism of the underworld obviously reflects the geography of ancient Egypt, with the soul travelling through the river, symbolising the Nile. Okay, so as is very well known, mummification was a major part of Egyptian religion in the ancient world. Now, not everybody was mummified. Originally it was reserved for royalty, and over the centuries common people and the nobility who were able to afford the process were mummified. but the vast majority of people always were not mummified and were simply often buried in a major pit with everyone else. So it's not something that happened to everybody. I'll quickly go through the process and then I'll let you watch this video, which provides a visual of the process. Shortly after death, the body was taken to a place of purification. The brain was liquefied by using a hook inserted through the nostrils and rotated like a whisk. The body was washed in a natron solution, and that dehydrated the body. The internal organs were removed and then cleaned, dried and wrapped, and then placed into 4 jars. After 35 days, the body was dry and then bandaged with linen strips. And after that, the process was taken further. So just have a look at this video and you'll get a very good visual representation of how the mummification process worked. Do remember that this mummification process, which you're about to see, took place in a later period of Egyptian history when there was a major Greek influence in Egypt. So there's a few things that changed in the process, but they're basically similar. Okay, thank you for paying attention, 7 Red. There's just a list of instructions here. Obviously, I'll go through them in more detail in class. So your task is to just do some research on one of the ancient Egyptian deities, which means one of the ancient Egyptian gods or goddesses, and you'll present that information to the class. Thanks.